Alright, what's going on, guys? And we're finally on to chapter 402. Now, Zhang discovers that if him, Wobble, and Tubeppa are the last ones standing, that Wobble and Tubeppa will give up their claim to the throne, which means that he'll win. Now, it seems reasonable, but he wonders if this is a valid conclusion to the succession contest. He also wonders why the coin created by his guardian sacred beast has no effect. At least, no effect that he can see. Tubeppa is satisfied with an alliance with Wobble, and by extension, Kurapika. She hopes that Rihan will thusly start paying more attention to Zhang Lei from now on. After forming this pact with Kurapika, her guardian sacred beast appears, and Rihan suspects that the guardian sacred beast might be a conditional type. Balsamilko thinks about the various types of WMDs created by their army, one of which includes TSK-17. Now, it was considered defective. However, under the right conditions, it causes stomach flu in the victim. Ah, so COVID came from the Kakin Empire. Well, there you go. Now, if it's inhaled inside of 30 seconds, it multiplies rapidly, causing the infected person to have multiple organs to fail, and they'll die in just half of a day. And as a side effect of inhaling the drug, it decomposes the body. Therefore, there's going to be no evidence left afterwards, which means nothing's going to show up on the autopsy. It's basically the perfect silent killer. And with this, he plans to erase Prince Halkenberg from the contest. Meanwhile, Tserriednich can now enter a state of Zetsu in under 10 seconds. And by the way, he's playing a Nintendo Switch here. That's pretty badass if you ask me. I mean, I know he's a killer and all, but at the same time, he's a fellow gamer, so you gotta show a little bit of respect, I think. Salkov, who we find out could use Zetsu at birth, which confirms that he's one of Beyond's offerings, is amazed by Tserriednich's abilities and his genius intellect. Seda suspects that he used a Nen ability while in Zetsu. Now, Tserriednich's other Nen beast is marked with a 666, and this is completely separate from his guardian sacred beast. Now, Salkov suspects that Tserriednich's Nen beast stores aura when he's in a normal state, but when he enters Zetsu, that's when he releases it and he's able to use that ability. Of course, this is unconfirmed, but it at least gives us a theory to work off of. Vantine alerts Tserriednich that Prince Benjamin also wants Melody, but Tserriednich cannot allow this to happen, as he needs to figure out what she's thinking so that he can bring her over to his side. Fugetsu has a new mark on her back, which wasn't there previously. Melody states that it's a Nen mark, and if Fugetsu were to use her ability, 2 doors would appear. Unfortunately, one of them would be a trapdoor, and it would be a trapdoor set up by the enemy. Kacho suspects that it's Lazarus' guardian sacred beast. The three then discuss a plan on how to deal with Lazarus. Kacho says that Getty, i.e. Fugetsu, has been testing how far she could take her ability. Now, she can't go to a location outside of the ship. She has to actually physically be at that location prior to using the ability. Now, the furthest that she can go inside the boat is by the lifeboats. Anything further than that, then they're gonna die. So essentially what's going to happen is that Melody is going to play her music, Lazarus is going to be out of it, Kaiser will take the body through the tunnel to the lifeboats and effectively get rid of him. And as Kaiser states, they're going to have the perfect alibi. So in his words, the prince, after taking an overdose of drugs, suffered a sudden heart attack while attempting to escape the ship. And that's their plan. The only problem with this quote-unquote perfect plan is they have to get a door inside of Lazarus' estate, which means that Fugetsu has got to go in there first so that she can manifest the door. Now, for them to do this, they need a reason to enter the other prince's estates, and Kaiser presents an option. He wants to present a letter as the last will of the deceased Prince Kacho, and guarantee that it's safe. By doing this, not only will they get access to the other prince's estates, but they're going to create some goodwill as well, which will give Fugetsu a decent alibi for doing no wrongdoing. Now, Melody is wondering why he's going to such lengths to do all this for them. And Kaiser claims that he's doing it because he feels like it's the right thing. If he can make a difference in the world, if he can make things a little bit better, it's all worth it. Now, even though Melody can't detect any changes in his heartbeat, she's still apprehensive about his true intentions. She even considers the idea that he might be being manipulated by someone. Kaiser, Melody, and the Justice Bureau then head to room 1001. They deliver Kacho's farewell letter to Benjamin. Now, before approaching Benjamin, she asks if it's okay, and he says certainly. And this is actually a really sweet moment that Benjamin has with his little sister here. He's always been shown to be this hyper-aggressive, strong-willed individual. So to see him showing compassion and empathy is actually really touching. It makes him more of a three-dimensional character. When Fugetsu approaches Benjamin, his guardian sacred beast screams, causing Fugetsu's spirits to temporarily vanish. Now, Kaiser is fully aware that Benjamin will use special martial law at some opportune moment, and he'll do this to seize the advantage for himself. This slip of the tongue, however, allows Kaiser, Melody, and Fugetsu to act accordingly. Afterwards, Fugetsu delivers her letters to Tyson, Tubeppa, and Lazarus. And it's all leaked information from the Ministry of Justice. It's all a means to shake up the relationships between the other princes. Lazarus states that Kacho does not want Tserriednich to get the throne. However, Lazarus doesn't believe this. He thinks something smells fishy here, and he suspects that someone is trying to pit him against the fourth prince. He thusly decides to leave the letter with the Justice Bureau. Now, Basho sees the evil spirits surrounding Fugetsu, so he decides to help her out. He writes a haiku and dispels the spirits. At least temporarily, they're not gone for good. And I gotta say, this is pretty cool seeing Basho's Nen ability again. We haven't seen this since chapter 68, so yeah, it's been a while. It is now Wednesday, day 11, and it's 8:50 in the morning. Now, even if Lazarus is not the culprit, Kacho wants to move quickly. Now, as planned, Melody's going to play her ocarina to subdue Lazarus. Kaiser will thusly carry Lazarus' body through the tunnel and take him to the boats, and that's where they'll dispose of him. Melody then says there was a rumbling that happened earlier, right above the Ministry of Justice. And it just so happens that where the rumbling happened, Halkenberg is on that level. Now, we know from earlier in the chapter that Balsamilko wanted to use that drug against Halkenberg. Is it possible that he already used that drug to attack Halkenberg? And if so, did Halkenberg defend himself? That's pretty hard to tell at the moment, but it seems like it might have went that way. So either one of two things happened. Halkenberg is dead, or he's possessed Balsamilko's body. Which, if that's the case, he can infiltrate very deep within Benjamin's camp and take out Benjamin. Now, each of the letters to the princes is different. Benjamin's about secrets, Tserriednich about crimes, and for Halkenberg, it's the truth of his birth. Now, of course, in the previous chapter, we were talking about how one of the princes could be beyond Netero's son or daughter. Now, it seems like Togashi is sort of leading us into that conclusion that it might be Halkenberg. But this seems a little bit too obvious for me. I would think he would want to be a little more covert about it, and I think this is a little bit of a trap on his part. And it's very possible that Halkenberg is already dead at the moment. I mean, Balsamilko might have taken him out. And finally, the chapter ends with Melody saying, as long as the succession contest continues, the princes cannot escape this boat. But I don't want any more princes to become sacrifices. Please come up with a plan. And she's referring to Kurapika, who it looks like she sent a note to. And the final words we're left with is, discover the key to ending the succession contest.